Hello, my name is Eduardo Perez. I'm one of the specialty doctors here at John Hunter Clinic, which is part of Chelsea and Westminster Hospital NHS Trust. I'm here today to answer some questions with Pink News about HIV and sexual health. What is AIDS and what is HIV? HIV is a virus and it is mainly transmitted through sex or contact with contaminated blood with the virus. It's when your immune cells are so low that you then become more exposed to other opportunistic infections or other infections that in another time with a very good immune response you wouldn't then be infected. The AIDS is a very advanced stage of HIV. It's when your CD4 count, which are your defense cells, are in such a low state that you're more likely to be exposed to what we call opportunistic infections. What is PrEP? So PrEP is the acronym that we use for the pre-exposure prophylaxis. Prophylaxis is when you use any type of medication or any type of treatment to prevent something. In this case, PrEP for HIV is a pre-exposure medication that you take before you get exposed to the virus. Then it then protects you against HIV because it's part of the same medications, the antiretrovirals, that we use to avoid the virus from multiplying in your body. Who is eligible for PrEP? Thinking about any medication, when we roll them out, we have to do some studies. So initially we had some eligibility criteria that I had to choose some group of people. And in that case, we were choosing those among the LGBT community, like men who have sex with men, transgender people, and outside of this community, those who are more likely to be exposed, like sex workers or those who have multiple partners. But nowadays, with lots of things having changed, PrEP is supposed to be for everyone. So if you feel like you're more likely to be exposed to HIV or you do have a riskier sexual behavior, do come to a sexual health clinic and we're able to assess you. How HIV can be transmitted. HIV is mainly transmitted through sex, but can also be transmitted to sharing of needles or contaminated needles for those who might be IV drug users. It can be transmitted vertically, so that means from mother to baby. So that's why antenatal clinics, they're always going to run tests for sexual health screening, including HIV tests. It can still be transmitted through penetrative sex, can transmit HIV, both vaginal sex and also anal sex. Through oral sex, it is very unlikely that HIV will be transmitted under only certain circumstances which need to be assessed clinically. But those are the main forms of transmission. What is PEP? PEP is the post-exposure prophylaxis, so it's the medication that you take after you've been exposed. It is a medication that needs to be started within 72 hours of exposure. Is HIV still a death sentence? And we do get this image of HIV has been very widespread throughout all media and everything on how HIV was discovered at the beginning and how it has impacted so many communities, right? When we think of HIV, we still tend to think of those years. And nowadays, we do not consider HIV a death sentence anymore. HIV is considered more likely to be a chronic condition. Those living with HIV can have a very, very long life. So what are the first signs for HIV? So you're going to have flu-like symptoms. You can develop some phlegm, you can develop some sore throat, some fever, rashes in your body, some swollen lymph nodes. These are some glands just underneath your skin, and they can be tender sometimes, but most of the times that infection can manifest without what we call a seroconversion illness, so without showing symptoms. Which is the best way of getting PrEP these days if I don't have time to visit a clinic very often? So happy for those. We do have PrEP online. We have some services that are able to provide PrEP online and also able to provide home testing kit, like for example SHL. We also have PrEP awareness events happening all over London, and we do know that other big places are going to be doing the same as well. So try to look around for other services that are able to signpost or are able to do some outreach provision of PrEP. And we might just share a couple of links for some of these as well. I see news about HIV vaccines, but I haven't seen any of it materialize. What is the real status of that? The studies are still in early stages, but we do know there are studies around HIV vaccines, and these studies, they are progressing. So here at Chelsea and Westminster Hospital, we are one of the centers running one of the studies, and as soon as we have more news to discuss about that, we will be happy to talk about HIV vaccines, because that will be something amazing, including all of the other HIV strategies to prevent transmission and actually reaching the goals of stopping the transmission that we are the UNAIDS national goals. So it's December 1st, it is World AIDS Day, and today is a day that we think of ways and strategies to fight off HIV and reach out the goals of 2030 of stop the transmission of the virus. And for that, we just need to make sure we are all approaching sexual health in a very positive and affirmative way, and we're getting ourselves safe out there. And that is not only using condoms, although condoms are a really good way of getting protected, but also getting on PrEP, discussing about sexual health and discussing about sexual transmitted infections with your partners, being open up front about sex, and knowing that sex should be something pleasurable for you and should be something that you should be enjoying. So going to bed worried about STIs and HIV should not be the concern if you're taking the correct strategies to protect yourself.